Hello everyone, this is Aretha. I have been working on a video series to help us close out this year and gently ease our way into 2024. As part of this video series, I would like to talk about taking stock and reviewing our year so far. I know we still have a couple of months before we close out the year, but I think starting early can make all the difference. I am a big fan of having a personal reflective practice. This means building a habit of reflection and introspection. It is a good practice to periodically evaluate how things are going and how we are doing. This is what allows us to adjust and correct course if needed. It also gives us an opportunity to double down on what is going really well. Now, when preparing for a new year, a crucial step is to evaluate the previous year. You'll notice that most New Year's resolutions and goal-setting practices include some form of a yearly review. But typically, we end up rushing through this yearly review process the last week of December. But the week between Christmas and the New Year can be really busy, noisy, full of activities. It is an exciting season, but it doesn't necessarily create the best environment for introspection. But also, when we do this exercise at the last minute, it is really easy to experience the recency bias, which means that we tend to easily remember what happened recently, but we forget what happened earlier in the year, like in January or February of 2023. And if the idea of reviewing an entire year at once feels too daunting, don't worry. The process I'm suggesting in this video will give you time and room to breathe as you think back through your year. So let's get to it. The first thing I strongly recommend is that you do this process longhand, meaning that you write everything by hand, not using your computer. There's something special that happens when you put pen to paper that connects you to your mind and emotions in a deeper way. Feel free to start a brand new notebook or journal, or use up the pages in an old one. Think about what you would like to reflect on before the new year and create a new list for each category. For each list, start at the top of a new page and leave plenty of room so you can come back and fill out the category. At the very least, start with 2 categories, the positive and the negative. And if that sounds too generic, label those categories accomplishments and challenges. And if you're the kind of person who likes to create all kinds of lists, I'll include some suggestions for other categories you can track later in this video. But at the very least, start with the 2. The goal is to start listing everything you can think of on the spot that fits into one of the categories, thinking back through your entire year starting in January. And then we'll leave plenty of room so you can come back and keep adding to that list until the end of the year. One good reason we want to leave all this room is that the year is not over yet. So as new things happen between now and December that fit into one of those categories, add them to the list. The other reason why we leave plenty of room is that by starting this process early, you have set your brain on a quest to remember all the things that happened throughout the year. And as those memories and experiences come back to you, write them down. I recommend revisiting your list at least once a week between now and the end of the year. This doesn't have to be a really complicated process, just a few minutes to think about what else you can add. One way to encourage your memories and experiences to resurface is to intentionally go back through your year. And you can do it small chunks at a time. I am someone who lives by my calendar. So an easy way for me to revisit the year will be to go back through my calendar entries so that I can look back at what I did every month throughout this year. I'm sure there are plenty of important things that happened since January that I have completely forgotten about. Another way to revisit your year is to go back through any journal entries. If you have a habit of reflecting periodically, go back through your notes and see what comes up. Lastly, you can go back through your own highlight reels on social media. So next time you pick up your phone to scroll mindlessly, instead of following other people's pages, go back to your own entries from the beginning of the year and see everything you highlighted and shared with your friends. Try to remember what you were thinking and what you were going through when you posted each entry. Basically, what I'm recommending is that you use bits of time here and there to go down memory lane and take stock of your year. We're talking 5 minutes here, 20 minutes there. None of it should be overwhelming. By building these lists over time, you will have a better picture of your entire year, not just the most recent months. Then when you're ready to look at your New Year's resolutions, you can review these lists and do a more thorough assessment of your year. And now for my people who really love making lists, here are some suggestions for additional categories you may want to track. I would still start with accomplishments and challenges. These are broad categories that will cover everything from your personal life to work to anything else that you're involved in. An additional category or subcategory I would pull out is lessons learned. What did you learn about yourself this year? What did you learn about how you operate? For example, one of my lessons learned that I have to revisit time and time again is that I need to prioritize my daily walks. If I walk as early as possible in the day, everything else will fall into place. But if I wait until I'm done with all my work before I go for a walk, it is likely not going to happen. I have also learned that my goal for productivity should be to operate at about 80% of my full capacity. When I try to give 100%, I end up depleted, and that defeats my productivity purpose overall. But if I aim to keep about 20% of reserve in my time, energy, and overall capacity, I am able to roll with the punches and deal with anything unexpected without burning out. So what did you learn about yourself or the world this year that you would like to take into the new year? Another list that I strongly recommend building is your feel-good list. What activities did you practice this year that made you feel good? What are some of the best ways that you have been able to recharge this year? How do you pour back into your own cup? Build a list of those things that make you feel better. There's a lot of generalized advice out there, but really what I've learned is that what works for me may not work for someone else. So this is a really good list to build for yourself. A customized set of activities that support your well-being. And keep in mind that this list can evolve over time. When you were in your 20s, single and hanging out with your friends, the things that made you feel better, made you feel invigorated, were probably very different than what you do now that you're possibly a parent or you have other responsibilities, you're older, you have a different circle of friends. So it's important to revisit what makes you feel good and make sure that it is up to date. The next list I strongly recommend building is evidence of your awesomeness. Think back through your year. When did you overcome challenges and when did you rise to the occasion? Think about all the times that you beat your imposter syndrome and showed up anyway. Think about the times you performed above expectations. Think about when you wowed yourself and wowed others. Hopefully you have a folder in your email where you keep all praise and encouraging comments that you get from your peers. And even in your personal life, hopefully you have a place to keep track of every time someone says something encouraging and positive about you. Every time we try to do something big, our brain is quick to remind us of all the times we've failed in the past. What we're doing here is building a list to counter those arguments and remind ourselves of every time we have been awesome. Write this list to remind yourself that you can do hard things and you can excel at them. And the last list I would recommend is a personal excellence list. What are the habits and patterns that allow you to show up as your absolute best version? When did you feel like you were on top of the world? And try to reverse engineer why you felt so good at that time. Is it because you had plenty of rest the night before? Was it because you were journaling regularly and your mind was clear? Was it because you were making plenty of time to hang out with your friends and you felt that you had a social group supporting you? Was it when you took a break from social media? When did you feel at your very best, at your most excellent version of yourself throughout the year? What were the conditions and how can we recreate that in the future? Each item you list can go into more than one category, so don't limit yourself. There are really no rules to how many lists you can have as long as they don't overwhelm you. Go with what feels natural and pleasant to you, but start early so you give yourself time to digest, sit with it, and remember over the next couple of months. There is no pressure. This is simply a recommendation. It's something I personally will be doing, and I thought I'd share it with you. Remember, there is no pressure. You are simply revisiting and documenting what stood out to you throughout the year. This is a good way to zoom out, review the entirety of 2023, and make informed decisions moving into the new year. By taking your time with this process, I suspect that you will be amazed by everything you have accomplished. You will build up your self-awareness, and hopefully you will experience some self-compassion along the way. So enjoy taking stock of your year and share this video with others. Leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, and remember to subscribe to the channel.